Blaise Pascal was a 17th-century French mathematician, physicist, philosopher. Basically, the original STEM major with a philosophy minor. He helped lay the foundations of probability theory, invented an early mechanical calculator, and even created the first public transportation system in Paris. Later in life, Pascal turned his focus to religion and philosophy. He became deeply devout and began writing his Pensées, a collection of thoughts where he famously laid out Pascal's Wager. Since then, it echoed through our society as a simple argument for why you should believe in God. But in this video, I'm going to show you why that argument falls apart faster than your New Year's resolutions, and that you are all wrong about Pascal's Wager. So, what is Pascal's Wager? It's not proof that God exists. It's more of a risk-reward calculation. To quote the Pensées passage,
"If there is a God, he is infinitely incomprehensible, since, having neither parts nor limits, he has no affinity to us. We are then incapable of knowing either what he is or if he is. God is, or God is not. Reason cannot decide between the two alternatives. A game is being played where heads or tails will turn up. You must wager. It is not optional. Let us weigh the gain and the loss in wagering that God is. Let us estimate these two chances. If you gain all. If you lose nothing. Wager, then, without hesitation that he is. There is here an infinity of an infinitely happy life to gain, a chance of gain against a finite number of chances of loss, and what you stake is finite. And so, our proposition is of infinite force, when there is the finite to stake in a game where there are equal risks of gain and of loss, and the infinite to gain.
Basically, if God exists and you believe, eternal bliss. If God doesn't exist and you believe, no harm, no foul. If God exists and you don't believe, eternal barbecue. If God doesn't exist and you don't believe, no harm, no foul. Okay, first minor issue. That nothing happens part. Not quite. If you believed and God doesn't exist, you still may have structured your entire life around a religion. You went to church, gave money, skipped bacon or sex, or God forbid, coffee. Maybe even felt guilty. For nothing. That's not neutral. It's a cost. Not eternal torment cost, but maybe like a monthly subscription to something you never use. But here's the real problem. God exists is an incredibly vague statement. Which God? Pascal calls God infinitely incomprehensible, and yet somehow assumes this being will send believers to heaven and punish doubters with hellfire. That's a lot of oddly specific knowledge about something supposedly unknowable. So let's expand our chart to reflect this slight omission in Pascal's argument. Notice that we still have just one path that leads to heaven, but now quite a bit more that do not. But here's the kicker. Most religions don't reward generic belief. They say, believe in our God, the right one, or else. Some even say believing in the wrong God is worse than believing in none at all. So this idea of tossing up a vague, I believe, just to cover your spiritual bases, that doesn't cut it. And even within a religion like Christianity, not everyone agrees on what gets you into heaven. Is it faith alone, good works, baptism, confession, a specific interpretation of Scripture? So let's put that on the chart. To make it to heaven, you not only have to believe in God, you have to pick the correct religion, the correct denomination, and let's not forget, you actually need to practice it righteously. Miss even one of those steps? Yikes! Just for context, There are over 30,000 Christian denominations, and there is not even a guarantee that any of them have everything right. And that's just Christianity. Multiply that across every major religion on earth, and you're deep in spiritual roulette territory. And we haven't even touched on other belief systems. What about polytheistic religions? Gods who demand exclusive worship? Religions with multiple heavens and hells? Or what if there's a heaven reserved for kind, rational atheists and a hell for smug believers who only signed up out of fear? What if you do believe, but the real God despises cowardly hedge bettors? Still feeling like your odds are equal, Mr. Pascal? Now he might say the odds don't matter, because the reward is infinite. Even a tiny chance multiplied by infinity still gives you infinite expected value. But that assumes the choice is binary, believe or don't believe. As we've shown in this video, the reality is far more complex. You actually have to choose what to believe from an almost endless pool of options. So, skipping that mental effort, like Pascal suggested, just isn't possible. And if we really want to treat this like a mathematical calculation, sure, we're multiplying by infinity, but we're also dividing by it. And let's not forget, the cost of belief is real. When you take all of that into account, the math just doesn't add up. Think of it like this. Imagine a lottery where if you win, you become king of Earth and live in total luxury forever. Sounds great, but the odds of winning are so low that even if every human in history played daily since the dawn of civilization, the chance of anyone winning before the sun dies out would still be practically zero. Oh, and a daily ticket costs $10. Would you keep playing just because technically the prize is infinite? If you're smart, probably not. So, the real surprise isn't that Pascal made this argument. It's that people still use it today, as if it's some philosophical mic drop, when really, Pascal's Wager says more about our fear of uncertainty than it does about faith. In the end, it boils down to, don't think too hard, just believe just in case. And sure, that might appeal to people who generally hate thinking, but coming from someone who's remembered as a philosopher, I expected better. And that is why you are all wrong about Pascal's Wager.